Hello, Booktube. This is day 4 of LitMas, my favorite novel. This is a creative endeavor from Adrian at Stripped Cover Lit. I've enjoyed it very much. I found it to be a bit challenging, which is the point, and it will get more so as we go along, at least for me. So, favorite novel. And if you ask me in 5 days what it is, it'd probably be different than it is today. And in a lifetime of reading, I've had many, many favorites. And some of it's mood, or what I'm thinking, what I'm nostalgic for, or whatever. But yesterday I did some science fiction. But another thing I also love are historical fiction, adventure, thrillers, that type of thing. And there was a time when I used to read an awful lot of Wilbur Smith, South African writer. So that's what I'm going to pick today. So let me read you a little bit about Mr. Smith. At the time of this book, he had written 26 novels, which the blurb says were meticulously researched during his numerous worldwide expeditions. His books are now published in 27 countries and have sold more than 65 million copies. He lives in South Africa. I would imagine it's way beyond 65 million copies now. And he did more than one grouping of new novels. He did novels on the Courtneys, and then the Courtneys of Africa, the Ballantine novels, and then also a lot of standalone novels. And I like many of those. I have not kept up in the last few years. My interests have been in other areas. Maybe I will catch up. I have purchased a couple of them in the last few years, but I haven't read any. So I'm going to start. I know it says favorite novel, but this is actually a grouping of novels, so I thought I'd do more than one. And this is Wilbur Smith, Birds of Prey. End papers on this are really nice. Let me take the dust jacket off here so you can see. Put this back on. So, as the little bio is insufficient as it was in the back states, Mr. Smith is from South Africa. And I believe he's the first South African writer I started reading as a young man. And he opened up a whole new world of that continent to me. I'm just going to read you the inside here to give you an idea what this first book is about. Let's see here. The year is 1667. Sir Francis Courtney, again, that's a family who he follows through history in some of his novels, and his son Hal are on patrol in their fighting caravel off the Agulhas Cape of South Africa. They are lying in wait for one of the treasure-laden galleons of the Dutch East India Company returning from the Orient. So begins a quest for adventure and the spoils of war that sweeps them from the settlement of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa to the Great Horn of Ethiopia far to the north, at a time when international maritime law permitted acts of piracy, rape, and murder otherwise punishable by death. Wilbur Smith introduces a generation of the indomitable Courtneys and thrillingly recreates their part in the struggle for supremacy and riches on the high seas. From the very first pages, Wilbur Smith spins a colorful and exciting tale, crackling with tension and drama that builds and builds to a stunning climax. Packed with vivid descriptive passages of the open seas, breathless pacing, and extraordinary cast of characters, Birds of Prey is a masterpiece from a storyteller at the height of his powers. And I actually would agree with that, even though it sounds a little over the top. It says every bit of his exciting adventure stories you'll ever find anywhere. This was published by St. Martin's Press in New York in 1997. And let me just give you a little bit of the story here. This is the author's note. Although this story is set in the mid-17th century, the galleons and caravels in which my characters find themselves are more usually associated with the 16th century. 17th century ships often bore a strong resemblance to those of the 16th century, but as their names may be unfamiliar to the general reader, I have used the better known, if anachronistic, terms to convey an accessible impression of their appearance. Also, for the sake of clarity, I have simplified terminology in respect of firearms, and, as it exists in such common idiom, I have occasionally used the word cannon as a generic. So, he's letting you know he knows that for the sake of the story, some liberties were taken, but that way you're not, if you're a real history buff, you're not looking with a jaundiced eye on some stuff. So that was the favorite novel. But to go with this, I thought I'd talk about what followed up. Same author, Monsoon. And again, the same type of gorgeous end papers. So here we go. Monsoon continues the story begun in the best-selling Birds of Prey. Set in the dawn of the 18th century in England, East Africa, and Arabia, it relates the lives and loves of the three sons of Hal Courtney, hero of the best-selling Birds of Prey. The East Indies at the dawn of the 18th century, and at the farthest edges of the known world, the mighty East India Trading Company suffers catastrophic losses at the hands of pirates on the high seas. Master Mariner Sir Hal Courtney, after 4 years away from service, prepares for his latest and most dangerous voyage, a death or glory mission in the name of the crown. But Hal must also think about the fate of his three sons. Each is very different from the others, but all will have a crucial part to play in shaping the Courtney's destiny, as the family vies for a prize beyond any of their dreams. Like their father before them, Tom, Dorian, and Guy are drawn inexorably to Africa. When fate decrees that they must all leave England forever, they set sail for the dark and unexplored continent, seduced by the allure and mystery of this new, magnificent but savage land. In a story of anger and passion, peace and war, Wilbur Smith evinces himself at the height of his storytelling powers as he carries all the drama and rich emotions of a bygone time into his action-packed tale of the sea. So that's Monsoon, which follows up Birds of Prey, which in turn is followed up by Blue Horizon. Unfortunately, we saw the first two had these beautiful end papers. This got short shrift for some reason I don't understand. This is Thomas Dunn Books, St. Martin's Press, New York again. And this is from, let's see here, 2003. All right. Tom Courtney and his brother Dorian battled both vicious enemies and nature itself on the high seas, finally reaching the Cape of Good Hope to start life afresh. Now, half a generation later, they are successful and contented, merchants and family men, prospering on the very edge of an immense and beautiful continent, Africa. In the tradition of Wilbur Smith's early bestseller, Monsoon, this spellbinding new novel introduces the next generation of Courtneys. They are out to stake their claim in southern Africa, traveling along the infamous Robbers Road. It is a journey both exciting and hazardous, one that takes them through the untouched wilderness of a beautiful land filled with warring tribes and wild animals. But the most dangerous predators of all are other Europeans, crazed by greed, jealousy, and lust, and determined to destroy utterly all members of the Courtney clan. This quest for vengeance results in a desperate chase, both on land and sea, that is one of the most extraordinary in modern literature. Blue Horizon is truly a great adventure story, told by a master novelist at the height of his powers. So, this ongoing story of a single family, in three separate novels, but related, had everything I was looking for at the time I read them. Sea adventure, exploration, new lands, swashbuckling, adventure, treasure. Um, just fast-paced action story, adventure story, um, of the best kind. So I think for myself, favorite. It's not War and Peace. It's not. It's not Proust. It's not whoever your favorite classical author is. But for rip-roaring fun, Wilbur Smith, starting with The Birds of Prey, following it with Monsoon, and then Blue Horizon, the story of the Courtney clan. That's what would be my pick. So thank you, Booktube.